Well, good Friday morning, fourth graders. Do you see this behind me? Today's lesson is going to apply to that. By the way, today's lesson is 12:10, decomposing and composing fractions. Do you see Dawson in the background? He's built this pretty much by himself. I told you we have 4 chickens, and one of the things that he's making for them is a chicken run. So he is constructing, putting together, Dad helped you, putting together a chicken run. And part of what today's lesson is going to be is taking apart, which is deconstructing, so taking it apart in its smallest pieces, and constructing, so putting it back together. And it's more of a lesson that just gives you some more background and some depth in understanding how fractions work. So if we're looking at the chicken house as an example, Dawson is constructing this chicken house with wood, chicken wire, screws, hinges, things you don't see. He's made like a little door behind me right here. If we were to take it apart in all of its small pieces, so construction, it is a chicken pen. Deconstructed, it is wood, chicken wire, and some hinges. And he's using this lovely old staple gun right there, which is kind of cool. So there's lots of little pieces that make up something bigger. So it works the same way with fractions. So they're going to say, today they're going to give you a fraction. And here's a really quick example on the guided practice that they give you. So number 1 says 3/5. And they're going to give you 2 lines like this. What does it equal? Well, it equals something plus something. So that's kind of deconstructing. So here's the construction of it, 3/5. And they want you to take 3/5 and break it down to something that equals the same amount, tearing it apart, right? So I want you to look first and foremost at the 3. In this lesson, the numerator is going to be important. The denominator is always going to be 5. So you can represent that down here. So there's going to be 2 smaller fractions. When you take them apart, that's going to equal 3. So let's take 3 and take it apart. Right, 2 and 1. So technically 3/5 can be deconstructed into 2/5 and 1/5. So if you added it together, 2 plus 3 is 2 plus 1 is 3, and of course represented over 5. And that's basically deconstructing. If you're going to get something, they're going to ask you to come up with 2 examples of how you could deconstruct this. So another example of 3/5 is going to be something plus something plus something. They're going to give you 3 boxes that you have to fill in, or 3 lines that you have to fill in. Everything is going to be over 5. That denominator is so important, right? So let's take 3 and figure out how to deconstruct it in 3 parts. Did you figure it out? Yep. 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 also equals 3/5. So those are 2 ways to deconstruct 3/5. Let's work with a mixed number now. So that's just a fraction. The example on the graded on the GP is number 2 is going to give you 1 3/4. Again, you know this is a mixed number. It's mixed between a whole, 1 whole, and 3/4 of something. And I saw some of you work this week really understand the idea of estimating, which I thought was wonderful, that some of you did forget to estimate in your lessons, but some did not. So 3/4 is pretty close to 2. You guys understand that. It's really close. So they're going to have you, they're going to provide 2, they want you to break it apart in 2 different ways. So there's one way, and you're going, what do we do? This has a 1 and there's only 2 spots. Don't worry, I'll show you. And then they're going to have you do another way. So they want it, or there's going to be another 2 ways to break this up. Or 3 ways, excuse me. And 3 ways to break that up. So let's look first at the whole number. Let's deconstruct 1. What's another name for 1? Yeah? Check it out. Es muy importante, this denominator is. So we're going to keep this and we're going to rename it. So we're going to say 4/4. That's the same as 1, keeping the same denominator. Now we're going to look at 3/4. Let's break that apart. 3/4. So you're thinking, oh my gosh, 4 plus 3, yep, that's 7. 7/4 is your improper fraction. So when I'll rewrite this bottom part for you guys. Let's look at 7/4. 7/4. If if you want to double check and see if 7/4 is equal to this, remember that cool little trick I showed you? I know, I've showed it to you many times. It's that circular motion. 4 times 1 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 7. So 7/4 is the same as 1 3/4. And if you're decomposing it, you've renamed 1, and you're bringing that fraction in. So that's one way to deconstruct this one. And they might have you solve it as well. So if we're looking at the directions in the book. Oh, let's help her, kitty. So let's look at this way, how we could break this down in 3 parts if we can deconstruct it. Knowing that the denominator is always going to be 4. Okay, keep that in mind. That's the kind of gimme that I want you to focus on. So let's deconstruct this in many different ways. You can look at 4/4, and you could leave it 4/4 if you wanted, or you could break it apart. You can go, there's multiple answers for this, just letting you know. So you can go 2/4, I don't know, just being fun. I want to break that up. I don't know, 2/4 plus 2/4, that's, whoa, look at my 2, look like Gonzo. 2/4 plus 2/4 is 4/4. So I kind of took care of that one. And you could leave this 3/4 by itself. So you have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's another way to say this in decomposing it. Or you could do it another way. Can you think of another way to break up 7 in 3 ways? Okay, let's just be fun. Let's go 1/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. So there we have 6 plus 1 is 7. That's another way to decompose it. You're just going to have fun taking them apart today. Let's see if the directions say compose. So that means bring it back together. I wonder if they're going to give you a couple of ways to break apart the fraction and then bring it back together. Let me look at your directions. So on your page it says in 5 through 12, this is on page 313, find the sum. It says then write answer another addition problem that has the same sum and uses 2 or more fractions. And it says there's going to be multiple answers here. It says check students addition problem. So again, that means you have multiple ways to deconstruct it. So number 5, if I were to show you number 5 to get the go, number 5 on page 313, gosh, says 1/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's kind of what we just did. Let's choose a different one. That one looks a little too similar to the one we were just breaking down. Let's go to number 6. Let's see if that one's any different. So this one says 3/5 plus 3/5 plus 1/5. How's the construction going back there?
Frustrating. Chicken wire is not very kind.
So one of the things that helps me when I'm looking at these, again, they want you to come up with another way of writing this. I like to kind of look at it as a mixed number, or what I'd like to translate it right away. So I'm going to go ahead and translate this. 3 plus 3, 6 plus 1, 7. 7/5. Here we are dealing with a 7 again. I'm going to deconstruct that to, or reconstruct it to actual whole numbers. So 7 divided by 5. 5 will go in there 1 time. 5, 6, 7. Count up 2/5. So another name for 7/5 in a mixed number way is 2/5. So you could do this another way. So we could say, okay, another name for this would be 5/5 plus, and we are again looking for 7, 3/5. So 5, 6, 5, check my adding out, 5, 6, 7. So that's another way to write this addition problem or deconstruct this whole number and fraction. All right, try it out today. Again, the answer key tomorrow will be posted, or tonight it will be posted, actually I think at 4 o'clock today. Check your work. You're going to have to be sort of gracious with yourself. It'll say check students addition. So you might have something different than the answer key, and they're going to have multiple problems. So, all right, let me know if you've had any questions on your post. Thanks, guys. Happy Friday.